My name is Kendra Dawson, and I want you to imagine sitting in a gray-walled conference room in Kansas City while 23 people you've mentored for years systematically dismantle your reputation item by item for 2 full hours. They had compiled a document, 190 reasons why I no longer belonged at a company I had served for nearly 4 years through late nights, weekends, and back-to-back client rescues. Reason number 47 clocks out precisely at 5:00. Reason number 92 doesn't join Friday lunches. Reason number 151 brings her own coffee instead of using the team machine. Reason number 190 hums quietly while reading spreadsheets. I sat silently while my project manager, Dorian, read each line like he was drawing lottery balls. My supervisor, Renee, nodded along like it was gospel. And 21 familiar faces, some of whom I'd helped get promoted, stared back expecting tears or outrage. But what they didn't know was this: 3 days earlier, I got a call that changed everything. As Dorian finished the final bullet point, I stood up, adjusted my forest green blazer, and calmly said 5 words. "Thank you for the feedback." Then I took out my phone and dialed the number I'd memorized. "Hi, this is Kendra. Yes, I'm ready to accept. The $250,000 signing bonus is fine." Before I tell you what happened next, let me ask you this. Have you ever been the person who holds everything together while others collect the praise? If so, what I'm about to tell you may either comfort you or wake you up to protect yourself before it's too late. Let me take you back to the beginning. In 2019, I joined a boutique consultancy in Kansas City. We'll call it Grantham Partners. I was 38, hired as a junior analyst. I was supposed to compile reports and make the senior staff look good in front of clients. But during my first week, I saw what I was really walking into. Their largest client, a multi-million-dollar logistics firm, was on the verge of cutting ties due to late deliverables riddled with errors. Renee panicked. Everyone scrambled. I stayed late, found the root cause buried in the data pipeline, and built a fix. I left a note on Renee's desk. This might help. She used it the next day in her presentation verbatim. The client renewed. Renee got promoted. And that became the pattern of my life. I solved problems that weren't officially acknowledged, untangled chaos that others created, and watched my fingerprints vanish from every win. When our system crashed during a critical client presentation, I rebuilt the database from home while everyone else panicked. When a client requested a timeline that seemed impossible, I restructured our entire workflow overnight and made it happen. But I made one mistake, one I see clearly now. I never asked for credit. I didn't play politics. I assumed results spoke louder than visibility. I thought being dependable meant being valuable. I believed consistency and excellence would protect me. I was wrong. While I was busy holding the business together, my colleagues were quietly building something else, a case against me. It started gradually. During meetings, someone would joke that I was all business. When I didn't join Friday happy hours, I was labeled unfriendly. I ate lunch at my desk to meet deadlines. Apparently that meant I wasn't a team player. Renee began scheduling key meetings during my break, then acted shocked when I asked for recaps. Dorian gave me unrealistic deadlines and criticized me when I stayed late to meet them. A new analyst, Tyson, joked that I probably slept under my desk. But the turning point came 6 months ago. I was deep into building the annual strategy proposal for our largest client when my phone rang. The number wasn't familiar, but the voice on the line shifted everything. "Ms. Dawson, this is Elena Martinez from Whitestone Analytics. We've been following your work for some time. Would you be open to discussing a leadership role? Whitestone Analytics, the firm that outbid us on every RFP. The name whispered with both respect and envy across every boardroom in Kansas City. Elena explained they'd been studying success patterns at Grantham Partners for over a year. What they found: every major client win, every process innovation, every retention that defied industry odds. All of it traced back to one thing: me. They weren't after company secrets or names off a spreadsheet. They were after the woman who kept solving problems that no one else could. They were after me. They weren't just recruiting another analyst. They were trying to hire the person quietly driving success at their biggest competitor. They were trying to hire me. The offer from Whitestone Analytics was staggering, triple my current salary, a signing bonus larger than my last 2 years of income combined, a dedicated team under my leadership, a corner office, and maybe most importantly, recognition, real recognition, for the results I actually delivered. But I didn't say yes right away. I told Elena I needed time to think. After all, I'd poured 4 years of my life into Grantham Partners. I'd stayed late, worked holidays, and filled the cracks no one else saw. Loyalty still meant something to me, even if it wasn't mutual. That loyalty would soon be tested harder than I expected. Over the next few weeks, the office atmosphere changed. People who'd once leaned on me now avoided eye contact. Hallway conversations stopped the moment I entered. Lunch outings. I was never invited to suddenly became loud, pointed affairs, loud enough for me to hear them whisper my name. Dorian began assigning tasks with vague deadlines and undefined scopes, then criticized me for lack of communication. Renee pulled me into a performance check-in and laid a legal pad on her desk covered in notes. She didn't even look up when she said, "Some of your teammates feel you're not a cultural fit." I asked, "What kind of concerns?" She read straight from the script. "You don't engage in non-work conversations. You skip team bonding events. There's a perception that you think you're above the rest." "I've delivered every project early," I said. "I've saved 3 major clients. I work more hours than anyone else." "Performance and culture aren't the same," she replied. "This is a collaborative environment." The irony was painful. I'd rewritten Dorian's broken presentations. I'd trained Tyson when no one else had time. I'd repaired strategies that failed under Renee's watch and never asked for credit. But apparently, collaboration meant smiling through office gossip and pretending to care about who got eliminated on reality TV. 2 weeks later, Elena called again. Whitestone had just secured another major client beating us, using the exact strategy I'd suggested internally and been ignored. "We'd like to increase our offer," she said. "Kendra, we don't just want you. We need you. We've had 7 major clients specifically request the kind of analysis you're known for." Elena told me. I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Known for, Kendra," she said, "your reputation in this industry is bigger than you realize. When companies want real solutions, not just pretty decks, they ask for you by name." Then she added, "They just don't know your current employer doesn't value what you bring to the table." That conversation stayed with me for days. I started noticing the things I'd brushed off before. When clients called the main line, the receptionist would often transfer them straight to my extension without even asking. When other firms tried to poach our senior staff, they always asked one question: "What's your secret to consistent results?" I was the consistency. I was the reason clients renewed. I was the invisible engine others took credit for. And still, I wasn't ready to leave. Some small part of me clung to the idea that hard work and loyalty would eventually be seen, that people would notice. I was about to find out just how much they'd noticed. On a Thursday morning, I got a calendar invite marked mandatory. Team-wide performance and collaboration review. We had these every few months. Nothing out of the ordinary. I walked into the conference room expecting a slideshow on synergy. Instead, I found 23 of my colleagues already seated, each with a thick printed packet in front of them. Dorian stood at the front beside Renee, both avoiding eye contact. "Kendra, please have a seat," he said, gesturing to a single chair facing the rest of the group. Then I saw the banner team improvement initiative, building a better workplace together. Renee lifted a heavy stack of paper. "Over the past several weeks, the team has documented behaviors that impact our collaborative environment," she said. If this story reminded you of your own quiet strength of the nights you stayed late, the credit you never got, the silence you endured while others spoke over you, then join me by hitting that subscribe button, because the next story might not just reflect your experience, it might finally give it a voice. And together, we'll keep sharing stories of resilience, redemption, and rising from the background into the spotlight, where people like us, who make things work and hold everything together, finally get the recognition we've earned and the power to rewrite the ending. We've compiled it into a list. My stomach dropped. A list Dorian stepped in. 190 reasons why your current work style requires serious adjustment. We're going to read through each so you understand how your actions have affected your colleagues. The room went silent except for the hum of the AC. This wasn't coaching. This wasn't team building. It was an ambush. Renee began to read. 1. Arrives earlier than everyone, making coworkers feel judged. 2. Never participates in conversations about weekend plans or personal life. 3. Eats lunch at her desk instead of socializing with the team. 4. Completes assignments too quickly, making others feel pressured. 5. Offers solutions without being asked, which can imply others are incompetent. Renee continued, reading and reading. For 2 straight hours, I sat in that chair as every part of who I am. Every routine, every instinct, every contribution was scrutinized like a flaw. By people I had helped, people I had stayed late for, covered for, and protected more times than I could count. 38. Doesn't laugh at team leaders' jokes during meetings. 59. Prefers email over in-person discussion. 73. Doesn't own a television, making casual conversations difficult. 112. Brings homemade coffee rather than contributing to the office coffee fund. 147. Knows too much about client accounts, making others feel underprepared. 168. Stays late too often, setting unrealistic expectations. 185. Remembers too many meeting details. With each bullet point, something inside me didn't break, it hardened. Like steel cooling in place. These weren't coaching notes. This wasn't a roadmap for growth. This was exile disguised as feedback. They didn't want me to grow. They wanted me gone. When Renee reached item 190, the room went completely still. The hum of the vents was the only sound. 23 faces stared at me, waiting for the breakdown, the tears, the apology. I stood up, adjusted the sleeves of my blazer, and said calmly, "Thank you for the feedback." Then, without breaking eye contact with Dorian, I pulled out my phone and dialed. "Elena, this is Kendra Dawson. I'm ready to accept your offer." "Yes, the $250,000 signing bonus is perfect. I can start Monday." Around me, jaws dropped. Renee clutched her stack of papers like they might fly away. Tyson blinked like he hadn't fully processed what was happening. I didn't flinch. "And yes," I continued into the phone, "I'm more than happy to bring my client relationships with me." I ended the call and calmly placed my phone back in my purse. "Well," I said, picking up my notebook and pen, "I appreciate you all taking the time to prepare this." The room was still frozen, like they'd just watched their company walk out the door. "I appreciate you taking the time to help me understand why I'm not a good fit here," I said, steady and calm. "It's made my decision much easier." Dorian finally found his voice. "Kendra, let's not be hasty. This was meant to be constructive feedback." "Constructive?" I turned at the doorway. "Not a 2-hour character assassination disguised as a team-building exercise. Not a carefully orchestrated takedown to push me out." I looked around the room. You know what's funny? In 4 years here, not one of you ever asked why I work the way I do. Why I get in early, why I stay late, why I care more about the solution than the small talk. I turned to Renee. "You want to know why I don't laugh at Dorian's jokes? Because while he's performing, I'm usually fixing the latest client emergency." Then I looked directly at Dorian. "And you want to know why I finish projects ahead of schedule? Because I actually understand what the client needs, and I've been doing the work of 3 people." I reached for the door. "Good luck explaining to your clients why their trusted contact isn't picking up the phone anymore. I'm sure they'll understand." The next morning, I arrived early to clean out my desk before anyone else showed up. I didn't want pity or phony goodbyes. I just wanted closure. As I packed up, I opened my filing cabinet and froze. Inside were client folders I'd created myself. Not official records, just my own notes. Personal reference files with everything: client goals, frustrations, decision-maker maps, communication preferences. Years of relationship building boiled down into handwritten trust. I'd made those files because I cared about doing excellent work. But in that moment, I saw them differently. They weren't just notes. They were leverage. They were mine. My phone buzzed. Elena, welcome to Whitestone Analytics. Let's schedule your transition call. Before I left, I photographed every page. Not to harm anyone, just to ensure the clients I served wouldn't fall through the cracks or be misused by people who hadn't earned their trust. The weekend between leaving Grantham and starting at Whitestone was surreal. I kept waiting for guilt or fear. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: excitement. Elena met me in the lobby Monday morning. The building was sleek, bright, alive. Everything Grantham's outdated office wasn't. The building was sleek, efficient, built for people who actually wanted to be there. Before we headed upstairs, Elena paused beside the elevator. "I want you to understand something," she said. "We didn't hire you to be just another analyst." She handed me a black folder labeled Client Transition Opportunities. "We hired you to be exactly who you already are. The person who fixes what no one else can. The person who builds client relationships that last decades. The person who makes the impossible happen." I opened the folder. My heart stuttered. Every major client I'd worked with at Grantham Partners was listed alongside detailed notes, frustrations, contract renewal dates, and decision-making structures. "How did you get all this?" I asked. Elena smiled. "We didn't steal anything, if that's what you're thinking. These companies reached out to us." She leaned in. "Apparently, word's spreading. Some firms are slipping and clients are looking quietly for better options." She tapped the elevator button. "Let's go see your new office." We took the elevator to the 15th floor. "Key card access only. Corner office," she said. "Southeast exposure. Your assistant starts tomorrow. Your team of 4 analysts arrives next Monday." When the doors opened, I stepped into a space that felt like it belonged in a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows, natural light, clean lines, furniture that made you want to work, and something more: clarity. The energy in the space didn't feel corporate. It felt capable. As we walked the hall, Elena added one last thing. "We've been planning to open a satellite office for our Midwest expansion." She paused. "Given your experience and your client relationships, we want you to lead it." I turned to her. "Where would it be located?" 3 blocks from Grantham." She let that hang in the air. "Close enough for client meetings?" "Convenient, wouldn't you say, 3 blocks? Same territory, same clients. Only this time, I'd be leading." As we reached my new office, my phone started ringing. "Ms. Dawson, this is Tom Chen from Granger Materials. I heard you've joined Whitestone. We've been having some issues with our current consultancy. Could we schedule a meeting about transitioning our account? Granger Materials, Grantham's second largest client." And they were calling me. "I'd be happy to meet with you, Tom," I said. "Does Thursday afternoon work?" He agreed instantly. Before noon that same day, I received 3 more calls, all from companies that had been working with Grantham Partners, all asking if Whitestone Analytics might be open to taking over their accounts. And every one of them mentioned my name specifically, not the firm I left, but me. By the end of my first week, I had meetings scheduled with 7 of Grantham's biggest clients. Not because I'd reached out, not because Whitestone had launched an aggressive campaign. These companies had been quietly unhappy for months, just waiting for a reason to jump. It turns out that when you're the one actually solving problems and protecting relationships, people notice. They notice when their calls are returned on time. They notice when their pain points are addressed without delay. And they absolutely notice when that person, the one who delivered, suddenly disappears. That Thursday, just as I was heading into my meeting with Granger Materials, my phone rang. "Dorian, Kendra, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Some of our clients are asking about you. I just wanted to remind you, you're still bound by your non-compete agreement." I nearly laughed. "Dorian, you may want to have legal review my contract. I signed an NDA about internal processes. I never signed a non-compete. Grantham doesn't offer them to analyst-level roles." There was silence on the line. Besides, I added, "I'm not soliciting your clients. They're contacting me. That's a pretty big distinction." A pause. Then, "Look, maybe we can work something out. What would it take to get you back? We could talk about a promotion, a raise, whatever it takes." I didn't hesitate. 2 weeks ago, you organized a meeting where 23 people spent 2 hours tearing me apart. I'm going to assume you all meant what you said. I ended the call and stepped into the Granger meeting. Tom Chen looked exactly as I'd pictured, mid-50s, sharp suit, direct tone. Kendra, I'll be blunt. Grantham's been a problem. Our reports are late. Our questions go unanswered. He slid a folder across the table. Every time we reached out to you directly, you fixed things. We're ready to work with you, not your old firm. Can Whitestone Analytics handle our account? Tom asked. The contract in front of me was worth $1.2 million a year, Granger Materials' full consulting budget, and they were ready to move all of it to us. We can absolutely handle it, Tom, I replied. When would you like to begin the transition? Immediately, he said. We've already notified Grantham we won't be renewing next month. The meeting lasted 2 hours. By the time I returned to my new office, I had 4 voicemails, all from former Grantham clients asking for meetings. Asking for me. That evening, Dorian called again. Kendra, we need to talk. Granger terminated their contract. Oakline Logistics won't renew. Northacre Holdings wants to cancel mid-project. What exactly are you telling these people? I'm not telling them anything. Dorian, I said. I'm listening to them. Apparently, that's something they haven't experienced in a while. This is corporate sabotage. We may need to involve our legal team. Feel free, I said calmly. I'm sure your lawyers will enjoy reviewing how you're trying to claim ownership over relationships built by an employee you publicly tried to push out. The threat went nowhere, likely because their legal team told him the same thing Elena had told me. Client relationships don't belong to the company. They belong to the person who earned them. Over the next month, the fallout accelerated. 7 major clients, representing 60% of Grantham's annual revenue, chose not to renew their contracts. Not because I poached them, because they'd been waiting for a better option. And now they had one. Elena was thrilled. I've never seen anything like this, she said. Companies are calling us, asking for you. We need to move faster on that regional office. I had nearly forgotten about that. The satellite office 3 blocks from Grantham's headquarters. How fast are we talking? I asked. 2 months. We've already secured the space. We want you fully operational by the end of the quarter. 2 months later, I stood in the lobby of our brand new office, watching as movers installed the sign in the front window facing the street leading to Grantham's front door. Whitestone Analytics, Regional Office, Kendra Dawson, Senior Director of Client Relations. My name on the sign. After 4 years of being invisible, I was finally seen. That first morning in our new office, I stood by the window sipping my coffee when I saw Dorian Knox walking down the street. He stopped in front of our building and stared up at the sign, Whitestone Analytics Regional Office, with my name etched underneath it. He stood there for nearly a full minute, frozen. Then he pulled out his phone. I didn't need to guess who he was calling. By 10 a.m., I spotted Renee driving by twice. By noon, 3 other former colleagues casually strolled past, pretending not to look inside. But the best moment came at 2 p.m., when a silver sedan pulled into the visitor lot. Tom Chen from Granger Materials, monthly strategy review. He stepped out, glanced up at the sign, and gave me a nod through the glass. I saw him mouth the words, "Thank you." That's when it hit me. The real revenge wasn't leaving Grantham. It wasn't even taking the clients. It was building something better. It was proving that excellence doesn't have to be loud or political to be respected. It was creating the kind of workplace I always wished I'd had. 6 months later, our regional office had grown to 15 people. We'd won 12 new clients, none of them tied to Grantham, and our year 1 revenue goals were already surpassed by month 6. Elena visited in June to check on progress. We sat in my corner conference room, sun pouring through the glass, the skyline stretched behind her. She asked, "Do you ever wonder what your old colleagues think of all this?" I looked out toward Grantham's building. I know exactly what they think. They think I stole their clients. They think I ruined their firm. They think you're the villain. I paused. No. I think they made a choice. They asked clients to choose between a brand and the person who actually served them. And the clients chose the person. Elena nodded. What would you tell them? If you could, I'd tell them the 190 reasons they listed to justify pushing me out were actually 190 reasons I should never have been there to begin with. I walked to the window and smiled. I belong where excellence is valued, where my name belongs on the door. Elena grinned. Any regrets? Just one, I said. I should have made that call 6 months sooner. As I tell you this story, it's been almost 2 years since that Thursday afternoon in the conference room when 23 people tried to convince me I didn't belong. Grantham Partners is still around, but barely. They've laid off 8 employees, closed half a floor in their office building, and quietly backed out of several key contracts. Dorian Knox is no longer department manager. Renee left the firm about 6 months ago. Meanwhile, our regional office here at Whitestone Analytics has grown to 23 people, the exact number who sat across from me during my so-called feedback session. But here those 23 people come in energized. They solve problems. They collaborate without ego. They build value for clients who notice, appreciate, and return. And every morning when I walk through the doors, I see my name on the sign. Every morning I'm reminded, the best revenge isn't watching others fall. It's building something they could never have imagined. So here's what I want you to take from my story. If you're the one who keeps everything running while others take the credit, start documenting your work. If you're the one quietly solving impossible problems, make sure someone knows you did it. If you're the one giving loyalty to people who don't deserve it, start giving that loyalty to yourself instead. Because here's the truth, no one tells you. The people who undervalue you are counting on you to undervalue yourself. They're counting on you to stay silent, stay invisible, and keep fixing everything without asking for acknowledgement. Don't give them that satisfaction. And now I want to hear from you. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you for something personal. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think. Not just about the company or the chaos or the legal loopholes, but about me. About how I handled it. Was I right to walk away? Would you have done it differently? Because while this story is mine, I know parts of it probably felt like yours. Maybe you've sat through meetings where your voice was ignored. Maybe you've trained someone who got promoted while you stayed in the shadows. Maybe you've been told you're not a good culture fit, simply because you were excellent at your job. If that's you, if any part of this felt too familiar, I want to hear your story too. Because this space isn't just about corporate takedowns. It's about reclaiming dignity, one comment, one truth, one voice at a time. And if I can give you one piece of advice, it's this. Never wait for someone else to validate your worth. Don't assume hard work speaks loud enough in rooms where people only hear noise. Don't hand your loyalty to people who treat your brilliance like a threat. Document your wins. Advocate for yourself. Know the difference between humility and invisibility. Because I promise you, when you finally take that risk, when you finally step into your own value, you'll never want to shrink again. The version of me who walked into that beige conference room was quiet, careful, invisible. The version who walked out. She built a company with her name on the door. If you believe in stories like that, stories like mine, hit that like button. Subscribe and stay with me. Because your story deserves to be seen too.